Good morning, students. Today we will study Consumer Protection Act 1986. Now, first of all, I would like to tell you that as we all were preparing notes for legal aspects of environment, I would like to request you, when you see this, watch this video, you please keep your notes with you. You please keep the copy with you so that you can jot important points which I will say during this video. Okay, so we have to start Consumer Protection Act 1986. Now, before starting this act, I would like to tell you that why this act came into existence. What is the importance of this act and what is the need of this act? Now, the importance of this act and the need of this act is that, first of all, earlier what was happening, that consumers were exploited brutally. In order to protect the interest of the consumers in India, this Consumer Protection Act came into existence. Then after that, in order to establish consumer redressal machinery. Now, what is consumer redressal machinery? It is a kind of, it is also known as consumer forum. It is also known as, these are also known as consumer courts. Now, what are consumer courts? So first of all, what is the need of this consumer courts? As we all know that there is a lot of pendency of cases in courts. So therefore, in order to get speedy justice to the consumers, these type of courts came into existence. These type of courts are established so that the consumers can get the speedy recovery. Okay, earlier what used to happen, there were very few sellers and they used to sell the goods at a very high price, and therefore the consumers were getting exploited. And in order to provide the protection, in order to give the protection to these consumers, this kind of act came into existence. Hoping that I am very clear. However, I would also like to tell you, if I am not clear about something, you can always call me, WhatsApp me, drop me an email. I am always available. Okay. Now this Consumer Protection Act was commenced on 24 December 1986. So now what you have to do, you have to take out that copy and you have to write Consumer Protection Act 1986. Now the first question is, what is the purpose and objective of this act? The purpose is to protect the interest of the consumers in India, and the second is to establish consumer redressal machinery. What is redressal machinery? It is also known, these are also known as consumer forum or consumer courts, where the consumer can file a case in those particular machineries. Okay, now first of all, in order to start this act, we have to learn that who is a consumer. What is the definition of consumer? Okay, now what is the definition of consumer? Any person who buys goods. Any person who buys goods. I'm speaking very slow so that you can write it as well. Okay. Any person who buys goods for a consideration. Any person who buys goods for a consideration. What does that mean? कोई भी particular person, if he is buying the goods, we all have studied about consideration. We all have studied about consideration. So what is consideration? Something in return. That is what we have studied in Indian Contract Act, and that is what I have taught you earlier as well. So any person who buys goods for a consideration. कोई भी पर्टिकुलर पर्सन जो गुड्स खरीदता है और बदले में क्या पे कर रहा है? मनी. So that particular person is buying the goods for any consideration. It includes any user of such goods with the approval of buyer. It includes any user of such goods with the approval of buyer. Now what does that mean? It simply means, for example, you went to a Archie shop and you bought a particular gift, and you bought a gift. Now you are the consumer according to you, because you have bought the gift for yourself, but you have gifted that particular product to your friend. Now your friend is using that particular product. Now even your friend will also be considered as a consumer. Why? Because he is using that particular goods with the approval of you. Am I clear? With the approval of the buyer, but it does not include a person who does not obtain for resale or for commercial purpose. Now what does that mean? See, resale. Now what do you mean by the word resale? For example, I went to a shop, okay, and I bought 10 kgs of rice and I consumed it for my family. I started consuming. That means I am a consumer. But however, it could also be the possibility that I resell that product to another person. Now if I am reselling that particular product to another person, what does that mean? It simply means that I am not the consumer. Why? These type of people who are actually reselling the products are not treated as a consumer according to Consumer Protection Act 1986. Suppose, or for the commercial purposes. Now what do you mean by commercial purposes? For example, I bought one calculator or I bought one laptop and I'm using it for my own commercial purpose. Therefore, I will not be treated as a consumer. Why? Because it is according to the definition of a consumer, which is written in the Consumer Protection Act 1986. Okay. However, if I resell the product or if I use it for the commercial purposes, it will be covered under Sales of Goods Act 1930, which we already have studied. Okay, so that it will be covered under Sales of Goods Act 1930. Okay, so who is a consumer? Any person who buys goods for a consideration, and it includes any user of such goods with the approval of buyer, but it does not include a person who does not obtain for resale or for commercial purposes. Okay, hoping that the definition is crystal clear. And first of all, I would also like to tell you, this act is designed for the welfare of the consumers. Okay, Government of India is also committed for the welfare of consumer by encouraging fair trade practices, so that there should be fair trade practices with the consumer. Therefore, this kind of act was established. Okay, now what are the features of this act? First feature is this act was passed for the welfare of the society. Okay, this act is passed for the welfare of the society. How the welfare of the society? Because the consumer is being protected by passing this particular act, and if he thinks that he is cheated, he can also file a case in the consumer courts. Now what are second point is special courts for consumers. Now first of all, why there is a need of special courts for consumers? Guys, what exactly happened? As we all know that there is a lot of pendency of cases. There is a lot of pendency of cases, and therefore the separate courts are established so that these consumers can get speedy justice. Okay, now third is quick service. Therefore, there will be a quick service provided to the consumers. Fourth is it is simple and cheap. It is simple and cheap because easily the consumer can enter into the consumer court and file a case. Okay, now fifth point is overcharging complaint. Now what do you mean by the word overcharging complaint? Overcharging complaint. Now what is overcharging complaint? For example, if government has fixed the price of the goods or services, in such a case, if any overcharging is done, overcharging means if if the seller is charging more, and if the Government of India has already fixed the price of that particular product, he cannot charge more. So then, and if any overcharging is done, then also complaint can be filed here. Complaint can also be filed in the consumer courts. Okay.